Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Sean Yao.
The big stories tonight. The Commission on Audit says it again. The Office of Vice President Sara Duterte must return millions in confidential funds. This affirmation comes at a crucial time in the VP's impeachment case, the hearing of which resumes next week.
And it's already day 2 of the government service contracting program rollout, but the signups have been few. The LTFRB offers some explanation to drivers wondering about the delay.
And whatever happened to the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee's so-called explosive report on the flood control scandal? The panel's chairman explains the holdup in the document's release.
Kahit kung magsoli ka ng 73 million, malversation has still been committed. Hindi ba? At the level of the Ombudsman. Even if you return 73 million, an impeachable offense has still been committed as far as the impeachment is concerned. It was still a betrayal of public trust.
The Commission on Audit is ordering the return of millions of pesos in confidential funds from the Office of the Vice President. COA, in an unbanked decision, says the OVP failed to explain whether the use of the said funds was proper. Some congressmen now consider this decision strong evidence to impeach the Vice President. This is a big story tonight from News 5's Marian Enriquez.
73.287 million pesos in confidential funds. That's what the Commission on Audit, or COA, is requiring to be returned by the Office of the Vice President based on the issued notice of disallowance. This amount comes from the 125 million pesos secret budget allocated to Sara Duterte's OVP spent during December 2022. This decision by the COA on Bank is considered a significant development in the confidential funds debate. This now puts a stop to the OVP's continuing use of still pending with COA excuse on questions whether their use of the controversial budget 4 years ago was above board or not. This means the matter is already closed. However, the Vice President's camp can still bring the matter to the Supreme Court. But in the 22-page COA and Bank decision, they found that the Office of VP Sara failed to submit the necessary justification or clarification for their confidential expenses. The OVP also failed to show proof that their confidential operations were successful. It appears that 69.7 million pesos of this was used by the Vice President for payment for cash rewards, various goods, and medicines. Previously, the Vice President's camp presented a general statement in their accomplishment report stating that 100% of confidential activities were implemented without any untoward security-related incident. But COA maintained that this was not sufficient as the Vice President's camp did not present details or a breakdown of the expenses nor a narrative of successful information gathering or surveillance. The use of confidential funds for the purchase of tables, chairs, desktop computers, and printers worth 3.5 million pesos were also disallowed by COA. This is due to the lack of official receipts or sales invoice for the purchase. The OVP only presented acknowledgement receipts. Aside from VP Sara, COA also named as responsible in the notice of disallowance Special Disbursing Officer Gina Acosta and Chief Accountant Julieta Villa del Rey. For House Public Accounts Committee Chairperson and Bicol Saro Party List Representative Terry Ridon, COA's affirmation of findings is clear.
I think as far as the House is concerned, it will basically rise to a level of an impeachable offense, no? Particularly betrayal of public trust. No?
Manila 3rd District Representative Joel Chua also believes that even without including the testimony of the alleged former aide and bagman of Duterte, Ramil Madriaga, the impeachment complaints against the Vice President will still stand, especially with the NBI findings showing similarities in the handwriting of those who signed the acknowledgement receipts for the confidential funds.
So kung determination of probable cause lang ang pag-uusapan, matimbang. Kung kahapon magbobotohan na kami, ako personally, boboto ako for probable cause.
So what will happen if VP Sara returns the more than 73 million pesos as required by COA?
Kahit kung magsoli ka ng 73 million, malversation has still been committed. Hindi ba? At the level of the Ombudsman. Even if you return 73 million, an impeachable offense has still been committed as far as the impeachment is concerned. It was still a betrayal of public transport.
For News 5, I'm Marian Enriquez. We are One News.
And in related news, the Office of the Ombudsman is now looking into allegations made by Ramil Madriaga against former Ombudsman Samuel Martires and Assistant Special Prosecutor Ryan Ray Kilala. Madriaga claimed both received money from Vice President Sara Duterte and her father, former President Rodrigo Duterte. Assistant Ombudsman Miko Clavano said they are prioritizing the allegations hurled against Kilala. Clavano said they have issued a show-cause order to give Kilala the opportunity to explain his side. On the other hand, Clavano said that the accusation against Martires is also now being discussed internally.
The allegations as against Attorney Ryan Kilala from our monitoring of the impeachment hearing seems to be much deeper. Tapos may mga pictures pa, may mga videos. So yun po yung inuna natin ngayon. Nag-issue nga tayo ng show cause order sa kanya. We will make sure na yung mga ganyang kwento, we get to the bottom of it, understand kung ano talaga nangyari, and then we will resolve on that basis.
Now, the former ombudsman has spoken on the self-proclaimed Duterte bagman's accusations. In a statement, Martires questioned why any payment would be sent through an intermediary, that's Madriaga, instead of it coming directly from the Duterte father and daughter. Martires also questioned why the vice president would also give him cash when he does not know Sara personally. Martires likewise flagged the difference in Madriaga's statement in Tuesday's House hearing and a sworn affidavit made in 2025, thus casting doubts on its credibility.
For his part, the former head of the Vice Presidential Security and Protection Group, Army Colonel Raymond Lachica, called Madriaga's testimony, quote, glaringly inconsistent. In a statement, Lachica said that Madriaga has presented at least 3 versions of his claims, from his original affidavit, supplemental affidavit, and most recent account. These versions, Lachica says, are riddled with discrepancies and contradictions. Madriaga previously alleged that he was instructed by Lachica to deliver bags containing millions in cash to various recipients. Lachica has denied these accusations, and in response, Madriaga's lawyer Raymond Palad challenged Lachica to appear at the next House hearing on April 22 to explain his side under oath. In an interview with our sister program Storycon, former Duterte Chief Legal Advisor Salvador Panelo likewise questioned Madriaga's credibility.
Ngayon ko lang nakita buha niyan. Tapos tinawagan ko yung mga staff ng Malacanang noon. Sir, di namin kilala yan. Bakit ngayon lang namin nakakilala yan, nakikita ang pangalan yan. Wala, kahit sinong tanungin mo na malapit kay Bongo, malapit kay PRD, hindi siya kilala. Yung mga PSG, hindi rin siya kilala. Madaling sabi, puro kasinungalingan yan. Ang totoo lang, yung kasinungalingan niya, yung totoo yun, nagsisinungaling siya. Meron pa rin isang bagay, no? Ang kapansin-pansin, yung mga dinideklara niya, parang narinig ko na dati yan kay Trillanes.
News on the president now? Well, he's not done yet showing off his physical strength. That's amid unrelenting speculations on his health. News 5's Maricel Halili has this report.
President Bongbong Marcos is flexing his strength again, and literally at that, as he led the launch of the Biyayang Bigas program in Manila. In lieu of dumbbells, he showed off using 10-kilo bags of rice. Just last Monday, April 13, the chief executive did jumping jacks and even jogged in front of the media. All these to prove wrong social media posts saying his health is on the decline. There were even reports of PBBM being rushed to the hospital because of a health emergency. But the bags of rice were not there for the president's use for exercise. The food items were for the city of Manila's working class, including security guards and sales ladies. Under the Biyayang Bigas program, recipients got 6 bags of the staple, their allotted share for the whole year.
Itong programa na ito ay aming ginawa dahil ay talagang tinutugunan natin ang lalong-lalo na lahat ng mga kababayan nating nangangailangan. ng lahat ng mga iba't ibang bagay. Ngunit ang nangunguna dyan ay yung pagkain. At sa pagkain, tayo mga Pilipino, ay pag pinag-usapan ng pagkain, kailangan bigas.
80,000 middle-class workers are listed as beneficiaries in the country's capital. And according to the president, the rest of the Philippines will get rice subsidies as well. 15 billion pesos has been released as local government support fund to sustain the initiative. Local governments are tasked to lead the distribution of rice as they are supposed to know who most need it in communities they govern.
Alam naman natin, pag tumaas ang presyo ng langis, sabay-sabay, lalong-lalo ng pagkain. Kaya yun ang binabantayan namin na mabuti. Na kahit papano, na yung hindi ganong kabigat ang magiging epekto sa taong bayan. Yun ang aming binabantayan. Kasi wala tayong magagawa doon sa presyo ng langis. Ngunit sa presyo ng pagkain, yun, meron tayong magagawa.
For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
In other news, motorists may see another round of fuel price cuts next week as global oil prices remain steady. This development also comes amid lingering tensions off the Strait of Hormuz, a vital maritime choke point through which 20% of global oil and natural gas pass daily. An industry source told the Philippine Star that diesel prices could drop by up to 15 pesos per liter, while gasoline may become cheaper by nearly 3 pesos a liter. Energy officials said the trend could hold if market conditions remain stable, but warned that any escalation in the Gulf War can push prices back up.
Meantime, power rates are moving again this April with a slight increase in transmission charges expected to reflect in consumers' electricity bills. Global journalist Ray Vicente has that story.
Consumers may see a slight increase in transmission rates reflected in their April 2026 electricity bill. During the press conference on Wednesday, April 15, the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines announced that the overall transmission rate for March, which should be billed by electric cooperatives this April, climbed by 4.26% to 1.7526 pesos per kilowatt hour. This is slightly higher from the 1.6810 pesos per kilowatt hour in February.
Compared to the previous billing month, the overall average transmission rates for March 2026 billing period in peso per kilowatt hour equivalent has increased by 0.0716 pesos per kilowatt hour or 4.26%. This month's transmission billing rate is 0.7022 pesos per kilowatt hour, while the AS rate is 0.8516 pesos per kilowatt hour.
However, NGCP clarified that increase in transmission rate is not due to rising fuel prices. They echoed that the tension in Middle East war would have no spillover effect on electricity transmission charges.
Walang direct impact, Alvin, for transmission services in respect of the challenges posed by the conflict in the Middle East. We are like an ordinary consumer because our vehicles run on fuel. Pero in terms of transmission services, directly, hindi naman fuel dependent yan. So you may see an adjustment, perhaps, dun sa ancillary services portion, but that's a pass-through charge, and makakapagsagot siguro kung any movement that may have an impact on the ancillary services. It would be the generators or the TUE.
The rise is mainly due to higher ancillary service, which rates increased from 0.8275 pesos per kilowatt hour in February to 0.8516 pesos per kilowatt hour in March. Meanwhile, NGCP spokesperson assured there will be no red nor yellow alert for the power supply this summer season.
Kung patuloy itong pagsunod ng ating mga power industry players sa nakatakdang schedule ng maintenance shutdown, base sa nakikita ng NGCP, wala tayong dapat mangambahan ngayong darating na tag-init. Not even that.
Kapatid Kapatid Ray Vicente, WE or One News.
This is a big story on One News, and still to come, a commuters group wants some clarity on increasing fees at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA. We speak to the Passenger Forum next. Stay tuned. The big story is back with day 2 of the government's service contracting program. But there are few sign-ups so far. That's because the LTFRB only released guidelines yesterday as to how to participate and which routes are available. Some jeepney operators like Pasang Mazda have yet to know if they can already start tomorrow. LTFRB Chairman Vigor Mendoza II explained why the initiative was off to a slow start.
Medyo mabagal po doon sa unang araw. We started off dito sa EDSA busway, tapos dito sa mga feeder routes. No? Pero matumal po ang pagrehistro ng ating mga operators sa ating online registration. So by the afternoon naman, medyo lumakas na. So hopefully by today, mas marami na po ang naka-service contracting.
Some jeepney drivers aired some frustration on the delayed service contracting rollout. Many of them are raring to earn more amid the oil crisis. Under the program, PUVs will be paid on a fixed per kilometer rate regardless of passenger load.
Sayang. Kasi siyempre may mga pamilya kami. Hindi sumasapat yung kita namin.
Sa amin talagang papabor kami dyan dahil sa biyahe namin talagang patay na. Dapat itong pinupuntahan yung mga ganitong hikahos na yung ruta. Yung mga kinukuha nila, yung mga sa labas na mga biyahe, malalakas ang biyahe noon.
Then there's also the problem of fewer passengers. Here is the LTFRB offering an explanation for this.
Ang talagang challenge yung mananakay, no? Because during these times, marami na rin nag-work from home, di ba? Marami na rin skwelang nagsarado. So this is traditionally also, historically, this is the period with the lowest passenger load ng ating mga public utility vehicles because schools are off already. Tapos what matters worse now is yung work from home. So wala talagang, yun ang challenge natin ngayon. This is where it really matters the most because not only na tinatamaan sa ng high fuel cost, tinatamaan pa sila ng low passenger load dahil ka nagsasarado yung mga eskwela at yung work from home system natin.
Meantime, the Passenger Forum or TPF has some concerns. This network of commuters advocating for mobility wants the DOTR to take another look at increasing fees and safety issues at NAIA. We have TPF's Advocacy Officer Mark Quinto with us tonight. Hello Mark and welcome to The Big Story.
Good evening po, Ma'am Ces, Sean and Pauline at sa mga manonood po ngayong gabi.
So, ano po ang dahilan kung bakit meron kayong formal na demand sa DOTR?
Well, nag-submit po kami kaninang umaga ng demand letter sa office po ni Secretary Lopez ng Department of Transportation para po sabihin sa kanya na habang nasa gitna po tayo, di ba, ng pag-uusap kung ano ang mga po pwedeng hakbang na gawin ng pamahalaan para tulungan po ang mga commuter, gusto po nating sabihin na wag din po sanang kalimutan ang mga mananakay ng eroplano o yung mga airplane passengers. Particularly po, ang concern namin ay yung pagtaas ng fees and charges, particularly po sa NAIA. Nitong nakaraang araw po, di ba, yung CAAP ay nag-announce ng reduction in terminal fees, pero excluded po dito ang NAIA dahil ang NAIA po ay nasa ilalim na ng isang private consortium, no, ang PPP. At yung governing order po niyan, yung MIA Revised Administrative Order number 1, para po babaan kung sakali yung mga fees and charges na yun, kailangang amyendahan. At yun po yung panawagan natin sa Department of Transportation na balikan po itong order na ito At lalo na po nasa gitna tayo ng krisis, no? Yung fuel ay tumataas, wala pang kasiguraduhan, di ba? Kung anong mangyayari sa mga susunod na araw. At ang increase in operational cost po ng mga airlines, particularly mga fuel surcharges, ay naipapasa po yan sa mga commuters. Tapos dagdag pahirap po itong increase na terminal fees or yung passenger service charges.
Ito pong terminal fees ay nakapaloob na sa ticket.
Yes po, yes po. Yung international po na dati, before itong administrative order number 1, international is 550. Naging 950 pesos po. Yung domestic naman ay 200, tas naging 390 pesos po. Ito po ay sabay na inilabas o ipinatupad kasabay nung pag-assume ng private concessionaire, yung NNIC, New NAIA Infra Corporation, nung operations no, ng NAIA terminals. So ang sinasabi nga po natin, nung nag-assume sila nung September 2024, bigla nang increase ng fees o terminal fees nang wala naman pong nangyari pang mga significant structural developments and improvements.
Pero ngayon, meron ng improvement. So, since syempre na-privatize na yung operation niyan at nag-i-invest naman yung operator, hindi kaya justified ang increase?
Sa nakikita po natin yung mga changes so far, di ba, na nakita po natin, ay mga cosmetic changes, mga facelift, no, improvement ng mga pader at ibang mga facilities. Sa tingin po namin, hindi pa yon magja-justify sa ganong kalaking increase in terminal charges, terminal fees.
So ano po ang response ng DOTR? Will there be a public hearing, a consultation with kayo po, your group, and the operator?
Sa ngayon po, wala pa po tayong nakukuhang response, pero sana po ay sa lalong madaling panahon, meron na po tayong makuhang response from Secretary Lopez and even kay MIA General Manager Ines. Maganda po yun, tama, no, na kung babalikan po yung administrative order na iyan, ay magsagawa po ng malawakang consultation. Kasi hindi naman po biro yung dami ng mga mananakay, no, nasa 140 to 150,000, no, yung daily passengers, no, diyan po NAIA pa lang. So maganda po na mapag-usapan. Tapos siyempre hindi lang naman po kami, marami pa pong iba't ibang mga grupo na rin ang nagpahayag o nag-air ng kanilang concerns tungkol po dito sa nangyayaring ito.
Medyo belated lang kasi September pa to nangyari. Ang inyong complaint, what I mean is medyo natagalan from the time of the implementation.
Ay, hindi po. Gusto lang po natin balikan, pero ever since nung na-implement po itong administrative order na ito, marami na pong iba't ibang mga grupo ang nag-file ng mga letters. Actually, meron na rin pong pending motions before the Supreme Court regarding itong administrative order and even yung concession agreement. So, hintayin na lang po natin, no, kung kailan man mag-decide yung Supreme Court tungkol po sa kahihinatnan nun. Ganun pa man, ano pa man yung kahinatnan nung proceedings na yon sa korte, tuloy-tuloy po naman na ang ating panawagan sa Department of Transportation, sa government, no, na bigyang pansin din po yung hinaing ng mga airplane pa.
Mark, you know, the terminal fees, no, hindi pa yan nababago since the year 2000. Ito na nga lang, no, nag-take over yung NNIC, as you pointed out, na tumaas siya. I wanted to ask you if meron ka bang fair amount or did your group have a fair amount that you were able to calculate kung magkano ba yung fair and justified na increase sa mga terminal fees for international and domestic passengers?
Well, at the very least po, kung po pwedeng ibalik doon sa yung dating rate, no, na 550 at for international and 200 for domestic. At least dito po habang nasa gitna po tayo ng crisis at kung magkaroon nga po ng consultation kung sakaling mag-decide po ang Department of Transport at ang MIA na balikan po itong order na ito. Ibalik po doon sa lumang rate. At ito po kasing fees na ito, itong rate na ito ay nakapaloob po doon sa concession agreement. Kaya po sinabi natin kasabay nung pag-assume ng private concessionaire ay ito rin pong pagbaba nitong order na nag-i-increase ng fees and charges. Actually, hindi lang po fees, kahit yung ibang mga regulated fees like landing and takeoff charges, airplane parking, etc. na mag-drive up ng operational costs ng airline and in turn ay papasanin po ng mga pasahero kasi ipapasa sa mga passengers.
Tinanong nyo na ba itong mga concerns ninyo sa new NAIA Infracorp din?
Parang ang statement po ng NNIC before, di ba? Bakit ganyan yung sinasabi nyo na, again, yun nga po, ngayon lang nag-increase after 20 years. Pero ang sabi nga po natin, or ang posisyon po natin, hindi naman po ito dumaan sa malawakang konsultasyon. At ngayong nasa gitna tayo ng crisis, baka naman po pwedeng pag-isipan ulit, no? O anong
All right.
hakbang yung pwedeng ibigay nating tulong sa mga mananakay ng eroplano, no? Kung Isaac po.
Mark,
sorry,
we're just
kung
losing
isuspend
you a
po,
bit, ano?
isuspend.
Pero, so we're gonna check the connection. Can you hear us okay, Mark?
Yes po. Ako po.
Okay, go ahead.
So yun nga po, kung either isususpend itong order on increasing fees and charges pending mga consultations or tuluyan siyang ibabasura.
Kanina, Mark, nabanggit mo, ano, na
So
halos...
yun po, intayin po natin sa mga...
Okay, so kanina nabanggit mo, Mark, ano, na halos dun sa mga upgrade na nakita natin since nag-take over
araw
ang
po.
NNIC,
Yes po.
parang halos puro cosmetic lamang. But I believe you are also raising some safety concerns. Recently, alam natin, nag-viral, naging controversial din ang NAIA Terminal 1 dun sa Kisame na nag-collapse. And then last year, meron din yung issue ng substandard bollards. Pero ano pa ba yung nakikita mong mga glaring problems sa ating mga paliparan?
Bukod po dun sa dalawang yan, no? Marami pa pong mga hindi na-address, no? Kailangan pong magkaroon kaya kasabay nung ating demand or pakiusap na isuspend yung fees and charges or increase in fees and charges ay magkaroon ng isang comprehensive and transparent na safety and security audit, no, nung buong NAIA terminal. Kahit sino pa man, kahit sabihin natin itong part na ito or itong structure na ito ay ginawa before the assumption of the private concessionaire. Pero dahil sila na po ngayon ang nag-ooperate at nagme-maintain, no, sila na po ang may ultimate responsibility doon sa kung ano man yung nangyari at posible pang mangyari na sana hindi naman, no, in the future.
Doon sa mga biyahero na nakakausap nyo, Mark, ano ba yung mga sinasabi nilang complaints nila sa ating mga airports?
Isa po dyan yung, hindi masyadong, may ilan po tayo nakikitang parang mga dagdag na mga spaces, no, parang lounge or for public, no, pero hindi pa rin po ganun kalaki. Nagkakaroon pa rin po ng, alam mo yun, pagsikip, no, lalo na kapag dumadami yung bilang ng mga pasahero at walang espasyo para lahat ng mga pasahero ay makaupo o makapahinga ng maayos. Bukod pa po dyan, dahil kasama din po doon sa order na binabanggit ko, yung increase in rental fees, no, and charges. So marami pong mga concessionaires o yung mga dating nagtitinda sa loob ng mga terminal ang nagsara. No? So ibig sabihin, meron pong mga manggagawa ang nawalan ng trabaho. At kung meron mang mga makakapagpatuloy or meron mga bagong concessionaires na magtitinda po sa loob ng terminals para po i-offset yung pagtaas ng rental fees and leases, ay po pwede po nilang ipasa yon sa mga pasahero sa pamagitan ng mas mataas na presyo ng mga pagkain at produkto.
So with that said, Mark, willing ba kayo mag-compromise if ever? Or partial reduction siguro sa terminal fees or total rollback talaga yung hinihingi ninyo? Tsaka may deadline ba kayong ibibigay sa DOTR?
Well, ang best po ay kung ibalik doon sa original, which is 550 for international and 200 for domestic. Kung hindi naman po ay pag-usapan natin kung anong hanggang saan yung po pwedeng decrease. Kasi if I'm not mistaken, yung sa Kaap, yung sa ibang mga terminals, parang from 900 to 700 yung international. Tapos from 300 to 150 yung sa domestic, yung sa ibang mga terminals na hawak ng Kaap. So, kung nasa 150 to 200 pesos na decrease, ay okay na rin po siguro yun. Pero syempre gusto natin po yung private concession rates if possible. Kung sa timeline naman po, as soon as possible, nakakayanin. Bukas naman po ang aming grupo at iba pang mga kasama namin, o iba't ibang mga personalities and organizations na kaisa po natin dito sa panawagan na ito.
Okay. But Mark, are you against privatization? Or kasi mahirap naman to attract investors. And we know that, private sector will run airports better than government. But this may turn off investors to operating, infrastructure like airports, for instance.
Hindi naman po against sa modernization. Ang gusto lang po natin ay yung system na hindi naman po ipinapasa sa mga mananakay at mga consumer yung dagdag na gastusin. Pero naalala ko lang din po if I'm not mistaken, yung dati pong GM or General Manager ng Manila International Airport ay ngayon po ay nasa nasa NNIC. So ayun. Ibig sabihin kung ano man yung mga nangyari before or ginawa mga positive, negative, hindi po natin masasabi kung mangyayari habang siya po ay nandito sa NNIC.
But to be fair though, they do remit about 82% of their revenues back to the government. So I was wondering, did NAIA or new NAIA Infracorp ever get back to you on your complaints?
Tingnan po natin, antabayanan po natin kung meron din po silang mag-response sa amin. Pero just to be clear po, yung 82% po na remittance nila, hindi po kasama doon yung yung terminal fee o hindi lahat nung terminal fee. Yung iba pong fees na sinisingil ng NNIC like yung mga landing take-off at airplane parking at iba pang mga fees, ayun po doon sila kumukuha ng 82%. Pero pagdating po doon sa terminal fees, hindi po ganong rate din. O parang siguro majority po ang napupunta pa rin sa NNIC.
Okay, babantayan na lang natin yung tugon ng DOTR dito. We thank you for talking to us here on The Big Story. Mark Quinto of the Passenger Forum.
Still on the impact of high oil prices, LPG costs are forcing small food businesses to make adjustments in operations. From smaller portions to cost-cutting measures, carinderias are finding ways to stay afloat. Mobile Journal, Fatima Baduria has this report.
Eatery owners and staff have begun feeling the impact of the energy crisis as the price increase in petroleum products feeds into LPG costs. While other eateries have increased their food rates, Cherry has decided to retain the prices that regulars have been accustomed to. But to avoid operating at a loss, Cherry says she had to decrease the amount of food per serving.
Every week, nag-order kami ng gasol. So, every week din, nagtataas ang presyo na. Ang ginagawa na lang namin, Yung sakal namin, medyo mas mababa. Kasi ayun yung nakasanayang na presyo dito.
Aside from giving smaller serving, they also started saving electricity to cut back on bills. The same goes for Monique, but she is still struggling to make ends meet.
Kung kumikita ka ng 800 sa isang araw, sa karinderyang maliit lang. Ako kasi ang niluluto ko lang, 6 to 7 dishes lang a day. Meron ako at least 800. Ngayon, ano na lang, 500, 400. Ganun para makasurvive lang.
An 11-kilogram LPG tank would only last her 10 days with their eatery. To save, she has resorted to using her electric rice cooker even for other food items.
Nagawa ko, meron akong rice cooker na malaki. Doon ako nagpapalambot ng karne, naglalaga ng mais. Doon ako nag-aano para at least medyo tipid ako sa gas. Yung kuryente naman, kasi yung kuryente naman, pagdating naman ng bill, pwede mo naman hindi kagad bayaran yan, di ba? Makakaipon ka. Hindi kagaya ng gas, out ka kagad ng cash.
Hoping to bring business back to normal, Monique could not help but feel emotional as she seeks action from the government.
Siguro dapat tulungan tayo ng gobyerno, di ba? Gawa naman nila ng paraan yung pagdating sa mga ganyan. Kasi parang wala silang pakialam. Hindi nila nararamdaman yung hirap ng ordinaryong mamamayan.
While there has been a rollback in LPG prices following the cut on excise tax, it is still a long way from its rates before the energy crisis, where one tank costs less than 1,000 pesos. Kapatid Fatima Baduria, we are One News.
We're just gonna pause for another breather, but after that, as the flood control scandal been forgotten, the Senate and the Office of the Ombudsman say they are still on it, and they have updates when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us here on The Big Story. 2 more senators have signed the partial report of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee related to its investigation into the flood control scandal. According to Senator Ping Lacson, they are Senate President Tito Soto and Blue Ribbon Committee Vice Chair Senator Erwin Tulfo. Aside from them, Lacson said there are 2 other senators who also want to sign the report. In total, 6 have now signed the report, including Blue Ribbon Committee Chair Senator Ping Lacson himself, as well as Senators Bam Aquino, Kiko Pangilinan, and Risa Ontiveros. 9 signatures are needed so the report can be brought to plenary. For now, Lacson said some members of the majority bloc are still hesitant to sign, but he respects the decision of his colleagues. For her part, Senate Minority Bloc member Amy Marcos has indicated she will not sign the partial Blue Ribbon Committee report.
Namin ni Senator Marcoleta. Di ba gumawa na kami ng sariling report dahil very disappointed kami na hindi talaga tinutumbok yung mga Marines, yung iba't ibang testigo, si Trigiv, si Martin. Nakatambay lang naman yung mga yan ba't hindi hilain dito at magsalita?
And here are other stories making headlines this Thursday, starting with the so-called contractors. The Ombudsman today ordered lifestyle checks on 26 congressmen who allegedly double as contractors of infrastructure projects. While the Ombudsman did not disclose identities, the office says they were able to obtain these legislators' SALANs or statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth. The ombudsman is awaiting SALANs of a second batch of congressmen. Meantime, Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla confirmed to News 5 that the Interpol has already issued a red notice against gaming tycoon Atong Ang. Ang has been in hiding since January after courts in Laguna and Batangas issued arrest warrants against him for or over the missing Sabongeros case. Last week, Remulla told One News that police almost caught Ang in Calabarzon. Before that, the DILG chief said authorities were confirming intelligence reports that the businessman had escaped to Vietnam via backdoor channels.
And in another development, the CIDG on Tuesday morning arrested Filipino rapper Hev Abi for alleged possession of illegal drugs and loose firearm. Authorities seized suspected liquid marijuana, cocaine, and other drug paraphernalia, as well as a 9mm pistol with magazine and ammunition. Hev Abi was supposed to appear at the UP Fair in Diliman last night. In a statement, the rapper's label Urban Department PH categorically denied all allegations and said it is working with authorities to find a solution. And on to another story. Over 300 families are still in evacuation centers in Obando, Bulacan, 6 days since the Navota sanitary landfill fire started. And while the blaze is now under control, it has not been completely extinguished due to persisting methane combustion. Up to 80% of the 40-hectare inactive landfill had been consumed by the fire, so the Navotas LGU already tapped the Public Works Department for assistance.
So mga dump truck, mga bulldozer, kailangan yan, ipapadala natin ng mabilis tsaka marami. Ang challenge lang natin ngayon, walang daan na papunta dito sa ngayon. So lahat kailangan by barge. Kaya talagang toxic itong fumes na to. No? So hindi natin pwede talaga itong patagalin.
Now here's one more story before we go. Temperatures are rising again, and it's not only humans feeling the heat. Here are some reminders from mobile journal Daniel Dayaw on how to keep our fur babies cool, safe, and hydrated.
Does your fur friend pant more than usual? That could be a sign of dehydration or heat exhaustion. As the heat intensifies, some pet owners are starting to notice changes in their fur babies, like Cheryl, who grew concerned over her dog Toby's breathing.
Actually, we noticed ever since 2 weeks ago, he's always struggling to breathe, even though he's just going on short walks. And then we bring him out morning and evening. It's not that hot naman, pero when he's inside, laging hinihingal.
Signs like these may be simple, but experts warn that these could be early symptoms of heat-related illnesses.
Usually the misconception na palay natin is that they can tolerate heat as much as we do, no? But we have to consider, or dapat natin malaman, na the only way that they can expel heat is through breathing, no? So, yun ang isa sa mga dapat nating bantayan, the breathing pattern of our dogs when they are exposed to extreme temperatures.
One of the top risks this dry season is heat stroke, so watch out for excessive panting, drooling, and disorientation. And when these happen, immediate action is crucial.
The best thing that we can do pag ang ating mga pets ay nakaka-experience or napapansin nyo na magkaka-event ng heat stroke, lalo na yung excessive panting or yung abnormal na yung kanilang breathing pattern, dapat basain muna sila ng cold water, but not ice water or not directly putting ice on their body. Kasi nga, a sudden change or shift in temperature, mas magiging grabe yung condition nila.
To prevent this further, some pet owners are now adjusting their routines, like walking their dogs later in the day.
I was warned by my doctor not to walk her out in the street like midday. So now it's like 5 p.m. so it's cooler, so I walk her at this time or a little bit later. And then also a lot of water.
And making sure their pets stay cool and hydrated.
It's summer. We actually gave her another fan, and then she has her dedicated fan nakatutok lang sa bed niya. Pretty much the AC is on the whole day, just so that it's cooler in the condo. And their water bowl, we make sure we change their water daily. Then we always give them cold water.
Experts also recommend proper ventilation, clean water, and simple cooling treats like ice cubes. Because in extreme heat, it's not just the people who need protection. Our pet friends do too. Kapatid Mobile journalist Daniel Dayao, we are One News.
Okay, that last photo though that we saw with the dog with the shoes on, actually,
Shoes are no.
shoes are, I mean, dogs release heat through their tongues and their paws.
Yeah.
So it's better for them not to wear shoes.
Yeah, but
Even
also,
if the pavement is very hot.
well, you shouldn't wear, I mean,
You shouldn't walk them in pagtirik yung araw.
Saka hindi naman, well, dogs don't wear shoes. It's not normal.
pero naiintindihan ko rin naman yung concern mo for the paws. Ang hirap
Para hindi
i-balance.
magdumihan.
Mapasok.
So,
Basta maglakad nga sa initan.
I think sa sobrang init, yung dogs ko hindi na willing maglakad. Yung sa'yo ba? Game
I just walked kanina. Mga 9
AM. Okay naman.
Oo, kasi mahangin pa, tsaka hindi naman ganun kainit.
Oo nga, dapat yata gaya.
Huwag lang sigurong 12 noon, 3
12 to
o'clock,
3,
diba? Yung mga ganun, avoid those.
Yeah.
Really?
Sometimes you
Kasi
never
Booker.
know. Sometimes you never know, no? When you had a dog.
I had a dog na heat stroke na. Although it was a French bulldog. So yung mga pangong dog, pugs, shih tzus, yan, extra high risk. And lahat ng bulldog.
Oh, sad to hear naman.
It was very sad.
Okay. At saka painumin ng madaming tubig. Lahat dapat.
Yes.
Ako, my home has many, you know.
Dog bowls.
Yeah, dog
Littered.
bowls. Para kahit anong oras pwede sila kumain.
Water buffet.
Tama.
Want to stay hydrated. All right, and that's it for the big story this Thursday, April 16. Thank you so much for watching.
We are back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a good night.